Evan McGinty here. Real quick before we jump into the episode today, wanted to remind the guys who are listening to us in Scotland that we've got a couple of opportunities for you to join us in person coming up in September. We've got on the 4th and 5th of September a conference going on up in the Highlands at Culloden Baptist Church. And then on the 12th of September in Edinburgh, we've got a one-day conference going on. It's really a morning. It's like 9:30 to 1 o'clock, and that one's free of charge. I'd love to see you there at that. If you're in the United States, sorry, I don't have anything to invite you to right now, but I'd encourage you to go to our website, menneedhelp.org, and there you'll find all kinds of resources that will help you, whether you're trying to disciple a friend or you yourself are stuck and are just looking for a path towards spiritual growth. We've got all kinds of free resources that are available for you there on menneedhelp.org. But let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. That's our second in the series on the idols of a man's heart. And Joe Barnard and myself will be talking about fitness and working out and how that can become too big of an obsession in some men's life. My friend Joe, how you doing?
Uh, Doing well, doing well. It's a Friday, which is good.
Yeah, it's good. Well, we're here to talk more to men about breaking free from the idols of their heart. So we've been doing this series on the idols of a man's heart, talking about the good gifts of God, the things particularly that men are interested in, drawn to, that we have found as we've been discipling men, coaching men, things that we find probably find their way too deep into the hearts of men and kind of become an
Mm,
obsession, something that is
yeah.
more of an object that replaces God as their number one love and passion. So we're talking about things like sports, fitness, career, family, sex. The big things that I think capture the hearts and minds of men. This episode, we're talking about fitness. All right. So I want you to start us off by maybe telling me what's your relationship with fitness and how do you perceive to be kind of the ordinary Christian man's relationship with fitness as you look at the men in your church,
Mm.
the men you disciple, just what in general are you seeing about men and their relationship to fitness?
Yeah. I think this is a significant part of my life. I'm not the kind of person that trains for marathons or, you know, uh, does does much by way of whether it's a challenge or whether it's I don't know, the kind of bucket list things people do, but it's a daily part of my life, and it's something I do think about and spend time with. Um, I think this is one of those, it's hard to generalize. And I think whether it's difference to US, UK, or even just within the US itself. I mean, I always look at the US and think, there's two types of people. There's kind of one type that doesn't think at all about fitness, that drives to their mailbox and back, to get their mail. Um, and has struggles with weight loss and all the rest of it. And then you've got this other half of America that's obsessed,
Yeah.
and is whether it's CrossFit or triathlons or spends tons of money, tons of time, and is not just fit but wants to be like super fit. And
Mhm.
there's people that fall between the cracks, but you have this kind of polarized environment. And so I think today we're not thinking about the person who maybe should think about fitness a little bit, but really, what happens on that other end when guys just start thinking about it too much and it becomes, like you said, from the outside looking in, it looks a little bit like an obsession. And there certainly are, I think, and we'll get into some of this, but in the last 20 years, there's currents pulling guys that direction. And so if
Yes.
you're not careful, if you're a certain type of guy, you'll find yourself thinking too much, not too little about, staying fit.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think just me personally, I am not a gym guy. I'm not a workout guy. Never have been. You may not be surprised by that. If you look at me, I'm not the most bulky and built guy. But I just have always been kind of allergic to gyms. I don't know. I don't like them. I don't like working out. I just don't like it. I have like horror stories. I had one friend one time in high school who was a big football player who forced me to go work out with him one day and he put me under the bench press, put weight on me, and I couldn't get it off my chest. And he was so mad. It was such little weight, like such little weight. He was so mad he walked out. And it was just me and him in the gym. He just left the weights on my chest. And it was like 5 minutes before he walked back in. So it was just torture. I was like, I hate gyms. I'm not going to work out. But I have always had like my career, my work has always
Yeah.
involved physical activity. So I've always worked outside with my hands, staying active. So I can't say that I don't like the idea of fitness if you look at it broadly, because I do like working with my hands, staying active, being outside, those sorts of things. I just don't like the version of it that's in a gym, with the grunting and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But more power to you if that's your thing, whatever. But if I were to kind of think about the ordinary Christian man's view of fitness, I do think that there is a pull in most circles of men to want to look fit.
Yeah.
If any man were to think about their ideal man, the guy they want to be, he's certainly not out of shape, right? Like he's not some flabby guy. Like every man in their mind, if they're thinking about their ideal self, or if they're thinking about the ideal man, it's somebody that's yeah, they're fit. They've got muscles. They work out. It's clear that they do something to work out. So there is, I think, some sort of pull for men to be fit and to be involved in the fitness world, even as Christian men, for sure.
Well, and I think, even just look at Hollywood.
Yeah.
The way that, the difference, like when even like, when Brad Pitt is playing Achilles, in Troy, and he's super fit, but he's not a Marvel hero.
Yeah.
And so like, the sort of and you can see the change in kind of with young men really wanting to achieve an extreme kind of tone and kind of chiseled physique.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think from the UK point of view, I've seen it. I remember up in the Highlands, farmers would like look at me funny because I'd be run. Sometimes I'd take a jog. No, nobody ran. Nobody exercised outside. And now in Edinburgh, especially post COVID, in the UK, everybody's got their half marathon shirt on, and
Uh,
so it really on both sides of the Atlantic, it's becoming more and more a part of people's lives.
Yes. All right. So we're talking specifically to men. All right. We're thinking about men and how God makes men and how men think and operate. What is it about fitness that makes it an idol, a potential idol in the hearts of men specifically?
Hmm. Yeah, I think there's somebody actually from your town, Evan, Edgar, who passed away not that long ago, but used
Yeah.
to very fit guy, but would talk about three things: diseased, healthy, and fit. And
Hmm.
in his mind, fitness was your capacity to do work. Um, Now, I think that's a really healthy perspective. I think uh, when we're talking about this sort of modern ideal of fitness, there's kind of two things. There's one, this idea again for physical beauty, just to look great with your shirt off.
Yeah.
Um, and with the whole kind of look maxing culture, that's getting to be more and more glaringly obvious that guys are gripped by this. I mean, so I joined a gym 4 or 5 months ago, and I've seen stuff I've never seen before. Like guys, while they're working out, filming themselves, or in like the public changing room, flexing and taking pictures. It's embarrassing, that they would even think to do this. But so there really is this ideal of sort of masculine beauty that now matches the kind of feminine beauty of the last 50 years. But I think beyond it, you also have this ideal or this desire of achievement often, so like CrossFit or something like that, where you have these timed workouts. And I think guys are so starved for a sense of legitimate achievement that somehow this satisfies. And so, if you can't do anything that's really of value in this world, where at least you can complete a triathlon.
Yeah.
Uh, and you need something to complete. So that gives you this sort of superficial sense of having done something important. And so I think both of those things factor in.
That's great. Yeah, masculine beauty. I had to write down that term. That's a good term. You're right. There is something about it's become desirable. And the phones in the workout gyms is certainly a thing. Men filming
Oh
themselves and
man.
putting it all over Instagram. So that's cool. But no, I think that part of why this attaches to the hearts of men, if you give guys some credit here, part of this is Men know that they don't need to be passive. Men know, even if you are a passive man, you know you shouldn't be passive. And if you put skin on passivity, well, it looks like a lanky man, like it, right? It looks like a weak and lanky man. So I think that's part of why men are drawn towards working out and fitness is because we know that we're designed to be active and not passive. And so we don't want to look like a passive man, right? And so there's something about working out that helps us feel like, okay, we're being assertive. We're taking on part of this call to action, that kind of thing. I think the challenge piece, like you mentioned, is another one. I think for me, yeah, if fitness were to find its way into my heart, it would be through adventure, through so like adventure
Right.
fitness kind of stuff, not through a workout gym. But I love kayaking, I love hiking, I love which is its own form of fitness and
Yeah.
can become kind of an obsession for sure. But what do I love about it? I love the challenge of it. I love the camaraderie that comes along doing it alongside other men.
Yeah.
But I like, yeah, kind of pushing your body to its limits. And I don't know, there's something about the feel of that as a man is really attractive and is really like, yeah, it grows you. I feel like it does mature you as part of that transition from boy to man as you're thinking, okay, now I'm pushing myself
Yeah.
through these limits and through these times. So yeah, I think there's also you could probably talk about why men feel the need to protect and what does it mean to protect? Well, it means you're bigger than the enemy. So I
Right.
work out and I'm fit because I want to be bigger than the enemy so I can protect my family. I think there's some things like that that come into it. But let's think about this kind of now in the terms of how this is changing. All right. So you've already mentioned the obsession that men have with fitness. It is changing, has changed in the past 10, 15 years. So what have you seen throughout history and time? What are some of the things that we can observe and help men see how this is becoming perhaps an easier idol to have attached to your heart?
I mean, I think it's helpful for guys to think through the generations. So, I'm in my mid 40s. So my grandfather, World War II generation, those guys, you can go watch the films. I mean, World War II, they're running around the battlefield. They were fit. Man, they didn't care about exercise afterwards. They smoked, they drank, they had kids.
True. It's true.
They became overweight. I mean, like it just wasn't really a thought. And a lot of them maybe even grew up on a farm or something to where they did a lot of manual labor, at least the start of their life. Like you didn't have to go out and seek exercise. Um, then I think about like our dads, more interested in fitness,
Yeah.
you know, but like, in the 90s, rare was the guy that ran, say, a marathon.
Yeah.
Maybe you ran a few 5Ks, maybe you were irregular at the gym. None of our dads had great physiques. You know, um, they
Yeah.
didn't care about like having a six pack. It was not a thought that you could have a six pack in your 40s. Not a thought. Nobody
Yeah.
had that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, you look at the last, say, 10 years and you've got people in their 40s trying to outperform who they were in their 20s.
Yeah.
You've got guys hitting 50 really wanting to still have like chiseled abs.
Mm.
You've got not just guys wanting to do a marathon, let's do an ultra marathon. And so I think just socially there's this sort of shift and there's different things. Some of it is people have an expectation of living longer,
Yeah.
so they want to be healthy longer. There's always the sort of midlife crisis that occurs that this is my chance to push my body. I won't get to later on. Um, and then there's also just the whole marketing side that this becomes an industry and a way of making money in its own right. And so,
Mm.
start having a lot more promotion and
Hmm.
everybody else is now doing this adventure race. I need to do this long kayak race as well. Um, but all of this means that we are in a different moment and that we're either feeling guilty for not being fit or we're exhausting ourselves getting fit in a way that if we could rewind things wouldn't make sense to our dads,
Yeah.
granddads, great granddads.
It's true. Yeah, there's something about I would love to get like my grandfather's point of view on some of these ridiculous athletic competitions that are out there now. You know, you're
Right.
talking about, hey, run 100 miles, and then, but like these ones that are like, what are we really doing here?
Right.
Run for 30 days straight and never stop and never eat. I don't know. There's like crazy stuff, like ridiculous and pointless fitness competitions these days. I certainly think that there's always been something to challenging yourself, but the fact that they are now celebrated, I think, is what's
Yeah.
different. They may
Yeah.
have existed before, but now it's like celebrated and hey, look at this and look at what this guy did, as if it's like super, super cool and manly to go and do the most ridiculous athletic competition ever. That seems to have no point. But I think another one of the things that's changed over time that I've noticed is just fitness used to be one of those things that was communal, and now
Yeah.
it's very individualized.
It's a great point.
So if you go into any gym, everybody has headphones on.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing their own thing. You have your own workout plan and you have your own playlist that you're listening to, and you do it by yourself. And I think that it used to be more communal. This used to be whether it be, yeah, way back in the day, but out on the farm, but also just, yeah, in gyms, men used to do this together.
Yeah.
You had your workout group that you went and hung out with, worked out with, you laughed together, challenged one another, that kind of thing. But it's certainly over time seems to be becoming more individualized. And yeah, you kind of pair that with technology and where we are with technology these days. Now, it allows you to kind of be obsessive about every detail of your fitness. So you have wearable technology that will kind of promote and help you obsess over your fitness. So, oh, how much did I
Yeah.
sleep? How much am I working out? How much? It's there. There are good in it. I'm not saying don't, there's bad, but there's also it sets you up to obsess over your fitness. That's what a lot of the wearable technology is doing, is it's setting you up to think about it more, to think about doing better and better than the other person that's on the app, that kind of thing. So
Well,
there's
and just one more thing that I think as well with the technology, I see this with like teenage boys and young guys. If they're watching fitness videos on YouTube, every single one of them has the guy without his shirt's
yeah,
off.
that's true.
But I mean, so you're surrounded with images of extreme fitness,
Yeah,
in a way that, I mean, Evan, when I was in high school, lots of guys played sports. Again, nobody really had a six pack. I don't
yeah,
remember anybody having a six pack. And now, like every teenage boy feels like he's supposed to have cut abs. Like
yeah.
it's a weird thing, but the more you see it, the more you think that that's normal. And even though these are the most abnormal physiques that are out there, they're sinking into the psyche of men.
Yeah, yeah. And what is the only way to get cut abs like that? Is to be obsessive. You have
Yeah,
to be obsessive. And so that's where it
absolutely.
can creep in to become an idol of the heart, is, what once set out to do something just to stay in shape, to be physical, has now become an obsession and has creeped in to be an idol of the heart. Um, let me ask you a little more broad question. I mean, this is an idol of a lot of men's hearts. Why? Is working out really that awesome, Joe? Like, is it really that great that so many men are obsessing over it? What do you think is kind of underneath men's obsession with fitness these days?
I think it's hard to say one thing. I mean, there's something good, and I think what
Yes.
is good is using our bodies,
Mm.
um, and using our bodies in ways that require strength,
Yeah.
and that's so normal, in every culture at every time up until fairly recently. Guys were working hard and coming home
Yes.
physically tired, and they needed strength in order to be able to carry things. And it's why we still talk about farm strength. I mean, the
Yeah.
strongest guys out there are those that are real farmers,
Yeah.
certainly in the Highlands and through Scotland. Um, but so when you take all of that away and you really are staring at a screen all day, you want to find something that actually feels like you can use your strength.
Yeah.
Um, I think, like you said, there is something to wanting to feel like, even if you don't really need to protect, like it's not like any of us are in like those situations, but to still feel like you have the confidence
Yeah.
to have some strength.
That's right.
So, other than the to me the more superficial things, whether the appearance or just kind of arbitrary achievement,
Yeah.
I think there is something right now that it's a reason guys are wanting again to use their body, wanting to
Mhm.
sweat, and wanting to actually feel like they're not weak, you know?
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think there's underneath this obsession is a lot of good. There's so many good parts to being fit and desiring fitness. That's I think I don't know if this is a trend in the UK, but certainly here in the US, I hear more and more when I'm hearing talking to pastors or hearing interviews with pastors. Like that's the thing they do now is jujitsu. They all get involved in
Yeah.
jujitsu, like all these, and like what's underneath that? Why is that? And but I think part of it is this whole yeah, men desire discipline and they need discipline. You know what? The fitness world can help you have discipline. Men desire growth. Men desire the community that can come along with something like jujitsu. Men desire to have that confidence that they can protect their family. And yeah, men want to be active. They don't want to be passive. So the fitness world, yeah, it kind of checks a lot of those boxes. So there is so much good in it, which is why we are pro fitness. Like this, I think fitness and being fit and being disciplined with your body, these are good things that are underneath some of this obsession. It just needs to be put in its proper place and not be allowed to become an idol. And so that's where I think we got to now start to navigate and help guys. So let's do a little bit of role playing where it's like, okay, we have a friend who is obsessed, who it has become an idol. They don't know it yet. All right. This is our friend Steve. Steve doesn't even know. He needs help discerning whether or not fitness is an idol of his heart. How do you help him? How do you talk to Steve to help him discern this idol?
I mean, these are the difficult things because self-awareness, true self-awareness is always very difficult for all of
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Um, uh, you know, I think the things that you're sacrificing for the sake of this is
Hmm.
always really important. I sometimes think that there's certain guys that they must be fantasizing about, you know, some old lady trying to go up the pavement or the sidewalk, and there being this huge rock in front of them, and what they need is a man who can come and deadlift 400 pounds, right? And finally, there's that moment where they can hoist this rock up and move it so that old lady can get down the pavement. You're working out, every day trying to up your strength. So maybe one day you can do some active service. All the while, your wife is desperate for service at home, and you're not
Uh,
spending, you know,
uh,
just even a fraction of that
uh,
time or thought or intentional thinking to help her. And so I think with anything, you can end up spending 3, 4 hours a day. Guys that train for, say, an Ironman, or
mm,
it can become a huge part of a man's life, or even just an hour a day.
yeah.
That actually, you're not finding any time to actually spend before God,
Mm,
in quiet, alone. And yet every single day, you muster an hour to go into the gym. And so I think that the whole kind of what's being sacrificed, and is it ordered? Is your love ordered? Because
yeah.
fitness matters. But if you take the top 10 things, it's not in the top five. It's going
Yeah.
to be on the bottom of that list, not at the top.
Yeah.
So what are you sacrificing?
Yeah, that's it. I think helping men discern that is difficult because like you said, the self-awareness piece. Hopefully that men have some self-awareness, but not often. Sometimes it's amazing how blind we can be. I remember sitting down with a good friend of mine early on in his discipleship relationship, and he wanted to talk about spiritual fitness kind of stuff. So I just asked him the question, what is your physical fitness plan? I knew he was a guy that liked to work out. Do you have a plan for working out? And he spent like 30 minutes. He pulled up his phone immediately. Well, this is what I did this day, this day, this day. And I do this for this many times and this many reps on this. And over the next 12 weeks, I'm going to do this. Like, had a
Yeah.
beautiful, well thought out plan for his physical fitness. I was like, he spent a lot of time and energy and he's doing it. And he has systems of accountability and all that stuff. And so then I just asked him, okay, so what's your plan over the next 12 weeks for spiritual fitness? What's your plan for the next 12 weeks for spiritual growth? And he had no clear answer. And
Yeah.
and that's how you know it's become an idol. That's how you know is when you have a clear plan for every step of your physical fitness,
Yeah.
but you have no clear plan for how you are going to invest in spiritual maturity. Then you know this has become an idol. It's taken place of something that's far more important. So I'd say, hey man, do you know? Do you have clarity on where you're headed spiritually before you make a plan physical? I think having a physical plan is good, but it's become an idol if it's the only plan you have. So then, all right, how do we coach this guy Steve out of this? He's stuck. He's got this amazing, beautiful physical fitness plan. He's hoping to lift that 400-pound boulder out of the way of the old lady that's crossing the street. But he now sees, oh, maybe this is misplaced. How do we help him move forward? What do you coach him to do?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to reorder your heart. I mean, this is not a simple task to do. And so you're asking a question, how do I change how much I care about something?
Uh,
And if it's an idol, you care a lot about it. So how do you love something less that right now is gripping your heart? Okay, that's a hard question. Um, I think one of the most important things is again to redefine your peers. Um, and I think when you begin to redefine yourself among a healthier set of men, some of the things that you used to find pride in actually you kind of get embarrassed about. So, for
mm,
example, if you've got a really high paying job and you're a member of an expensive country club and you drive up in a really nice Mercedes, you don't even think about it. If you change your friend group to a bunch of people that are actually thinking about serving the homeless and thinking about, hold set, and you drive that same car, you're kind of embarrassed to show up. You're thinking,
uh,
why do I have this car? Is this really the best use of my resource? In the same way, I think, to be honest, I'll be totally honest, I'd be embarrassed to take off my shirt and be too chiseled in my mid 40s, and to have like too good of abs. It'd be embarrassing because it's like, the people I care about would be saying, what are you spending your time on?
yeah,
And
yeah,
um
yeah,
and so in one sense, like get a set of friends that aren't impressed by your fitness.
yeah,
That
yeah,
don't want you to be not fit,
yeah.
but they only want you as fit as you need to be for the life and the calling God's given you.
Amen.
Uh, so yeah, I think, we catch the love of people around us.
Yeah.
So hang out with guys that aren't in love with the thing you're obsessed by, but in love with better things.
Hmm.
And over time, again, you're going to just feel your heart not immediately, but shift in its priorities a little bit.
That's good. That's good. My answer's much shorter and not as yeah, thorough. But I would simply give Steve a copy of him workouts. All right, this is my it's my shameless plug, but it's true. This is what I do. If I know a man who's like loves discipline, loves the physical fitness world, loves it but has misplaced all of that and has that's become his obsession. He's not spending time meditating on scripture, meditating on the glorious goodness of God. Well, this is the guide to do that. So I'd give him the copy of Joe's book, Him Workouts, and tell him, look, you're used to doing high intensity interval training. This is, man, that I have a version of that towards godliness. This is going to guide you towards setting your mind on God, working your mind out in the same way that you work your physical fitness out. So I'd want him to change his loves. And the way I'd try to get him to change his loves is by taking that same bit of activeness that he loves, the same bit of passion that he loves, the same bit of just putting out energy, but do it with your mind towards something that matters for 15 minutes every day, which is what Him Workouts is. And so I'd hand him that book and say, man, let's get after it. Let's do this together. Again, the communal piece that you talked about, I think is good. So doing Him Workouts as a group would be a great next step for Steve. But I guess let's end here. Give me a vision of life. The life of a Christian man he's not ignoring fitness, right? Okay. But
Yeah.
fitness is in its proper place. What good can fitness be? What good can workout be for the discipleship of men, for the
Yeah.
glorification of God? How can this be a tool that we have and not an obsession?
Yeah. Well, we all have a calling. All of us have a calling. And with your calling, it will help you be effective for God if you have an appropriate degree of fitness.
Yeah.
So, if you're a husband, if you're a father, I mean, one of the reasons I do work out, I still want to be able to run around with my kids.
Hmm.
I still want to be able to uh, be active, and I want to be able to serve God in the future. And so part of, now having some fitness and caring about, the condition of my body, one of the great tools God's given me to serve everything I do is through my body.
Hmm.
And so I think to find to ask yourself, what does it look like for me to steward my body for the sake of the mission God's given me? And you'll find fitness has a role within that mission, but not an idolatrous one. You
Mm,
won't you won't be fit for the sake of just fitness. You'll be fit for the sake of fatherhood, fit for the sake of being able to go out and serve other people, and also fit for the sake of maybe it's something you do enjoy. You think of Eric Little, that it may
yeah.
bring pleasure, and there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
but it'll be about higher things than just your appearance or just the number of, pounds you can bench press.
That's right. Yeah, what I certainly don't want guys to hear is us bashing fitness and saying, you work out too much. Stop working out. Never work out. Like this. No,
Yeah.
you need to discipline your body. There is something good about working out. There's a lot of good in this, but it's for what end? To what end? And to what purpose? If the purpose is self-glorification, if the purpose is to look better than your friend who's next to you, if the purpose is to achieve some weird, competition that doesn't really matter to anything, we need to look at the bigger picture whys. And yes, you have a calling as a father, as a husband, as a member of your community, and your body matters in that. You can't do
Yeah.
any of that without your body.
Yeah.
So you've got to take good care of your body. You need to think about fitness. You need to think about working out. All men need a plan of some sort for fitness and working out and thinking through that. But it needs to be put in its proper place. And
Yeah.
we can't become a part of this world of obsession where it overtakes and becomes the number one thing. So that's what we want to prevent guys from doing. We want guys to see fitness for what it is. It is a good and it's actually very necessary for men in the world of discipleship. However, it can be kind of, if you're not careful, it can creep in and become an idol of your heart, become the main thing, and now you're strangled and you're not actually doing any discipleship, any maturity that God has set you here to do. So we hope that you found this conversation helpful, guys. Maybe it's awoken some of you who are in that fitness world and need to be maybe shaken out to re-engage with some of the spiritual disciplines. And then maybe if you're that guy that doesn't work out at all, maybe you heard this, and you're like, you know what, I need to
Yeah.
do something. Because you do.
Yeah.
You need to do something, okay? But I hope you guys will continue to join us as we're gonna keep talking about some of these idols that are of men's hearts in particular here in the modern world.